In the heart of the darkness, every spark reveals a story you never wanted to hear. Matt had always been a solitary hiker. He loved the tranquility of nature, the way it allowed him to disconnect from the world. On a chilly spring morning, he set out to explore a remote trail in the Pacific Northwest, one he had heard was both beautiful and challenging. The trail was breathtaking, with lush greenery, towering pines, and a faint fog rolling in as he climbed higher. He relished the solitude. His only companions were the rhythmic crunch of his boots and the occasional bird call. But as he ascended deeper into the forest, the air grew unnaturally still. The birds stopped singing, and even the wind seemed to vanish. Matt dismissed the unease, chalking it up to being alone. But then he noticed something odd. The trail ahead looked different than he remembered. He could have sworn he had passed a distinctive tree with a hollow trunk an hour earlier, but now it was ahead of him again. Shrugging it off, he continued. That's when he saw it. A cabin nestled deep in the woods just off the trail. He hadn't seen any mention of it on his maps. Curious, he approached. The cabin was weathered with broken windows and a door hanging slightly ajar. Despite his better judgment, he stepped inside. The air inside was damp and heavy. A broken table lay in the center of the room, and strange symbols were scratched into the walls. On the floor, he found an old notebook. Flipping through it, his blood ran cold. The entries were scrawled in panicked handwriting, detailing how the writer felt they were being watched, followed by something unseen. The last entry read, "Don't look behind you." Suddenly, Matt heard a creak behind him. Spinning around, he found the door wide open, though he was certain he had closed it. The forest outside was silent, but something felt wrong. Gripping his backpack, he bolted from the cabin, running down the trail as fast as he could. Hours later, Matt reached his car, drenched in sweat and shaking. When he glanced back at the trailhead, he swore he saw a shadowy figure standing among the trees. He never returned to that forest, but the memory of the cabin and the oppressive silence still haunts him. Like and subscribe now. Are you brave enough to join the hunt? It was a crisp autumn morning when a group of 6 friends, Mark, Sarah, Liam, Rachel, Emily, and Ben, embarked on a weekend hike in the Appalachian Mountains. The trail was secluded, winding through dense woods with towering trees and patches of thick mist that seemed to linger. They chose this path for its isolation, craving an escape from the chaos of their urban lives. The first day was uneventful. They laughed, took photos, and marveled at the vibrant fall foliage. As night fell, they set up camp near a clearing by a small stream. They shared stories around the campfire, the warmth of the flames cutting through the cold air. Around midnight, the peace was shattered. Ben, who had wandered off to relieve himself, hadn't returned. At first, they joked, thinking he was playing a prank. But as minutes turned into an hour, their amusement turned to worry. Armed with flashlights, they split into pairs and began searching, calling out his name. The forest was eerily silent, save for the crunch of leaves underfoot. Liam and Sarah thought they saw movement in the shadows, but when they approached, they found nothing. Mark swore he heard faint whispering but dismissed it as nerves. As the hours dragged on, panic set in. They returned to the campsite, hoping Ben had made his way back. Instead, they found something chilling. His backpack was sitting in the middle of the clearing, neatly packed, but Ben was nowhere in sight. By dawn, they decided to head back and alert authorities. On the way, Emily tripped over something buried in the leaves. It was Ben's shoe, torn and covered in dirt, but there were no tracks around it. The forest seemed to watch them, oppressive and menacing. The authorities searched for weeks but found no trace of Ben. The friends were left haunted, replaying every moment of that night. To this day, they wonder, was it an accident, or was something in the forest watching them all along, waiting for the perfect moment to strike?